Hello friends. Today the topic on which we'll be discussing the things are marine and inland fisheries, prawn culture and other water-based activities and aspects which are related to the Blue Revolution. Now let us know what is fisheries and what do you mean by the Blue Revolution. Now fisheries is basically the commercial exploitation of fish and other aquatic organisms for human use. Now when we say fish, it also means the finfish, the crustaceans, the shellfish, the mollusks, the shrimps, the prawns, crabs, and everything and anything which is available in the sea or aquatic ecosystem. Now the world fish production in the year 2007, it has been to the tune of 144 million metric tons, of which the Indian share has been roughly 7 million metric tons. You will be very surprised to know that India is the second largest producer of fish and fisheries in the world, along with Peru. The largest fish producer in the world is China, which produces nearly half of the total world fish. Despite many odds, there has been a spurt in the fish production in the last two decades. And this enhanced fish production has been mainly due to the fact that Indian aquaculture industry or the aquaculture has seen a boom. Now, what are the types of fisheries? Fisheries can be classified into many types. Basically, when we say fisheries, we have got capture and culture. Now, of the total fish production, nearly 2.9 million metric tons is contributed by the marine capture fisheries and 1 million ton through the inland capture. And the rest 3.1 million metric tons is through aquaculture. So this, you know that how important is the aquaculture. The inland sector or the freshwater sector, it contributes a total of 4 million metric tons of the total fish produced. Now then what is Blue Revolution? This enhanced fish production through aquaculture, through aqua capture, which we have seen in the last 2 decades, resulting in a very high production of fishes, is termed as the Blue Revolution. Now, the fisheries activities which can be conducted in the freshwater bodies like the ponds, the tanks, the lakes and the rivers this is known as the inland fisheries. Now, the few important fishes which can be cultured in the inland fisheries are the carps, the singi, the mahashir, etc. We have another type of fisheries known as the brackish water fisheries. Now you must be knowing what is brackish water. A brackish water is an ecosystem wherever the river meets the sea. The water there is neither saline nor fresh water. It is a mixture of both. Such type of ecosystem is known as the brackish water fisheries. Now it is prominently found in the estuaries and in the backwaters of Kerala. And prawn farming, milkfish farming and mullets, these are the important fisheries which can be cultured in the brackish water system. Now the third one is the marine fisheries. From the word marine we know anything which is captured or cultivated in the sea forms a part of marine fisheries. It is carried out in the inshore areas and the offshore areas, and the best example is the shrimps, the tunas, the sharks, etc. So these are the important types of fisheries according to one classification. Now We also have a classification like the capture and the culture. Now, what is capture? Capturing of aquatic organisms like the fish, the crustaceans, or anything which is found in the aquatic ecosystem with the help of nets, the tackles, or the gears, or by any other means is known as the capture fisheries. Our basic aim here is to capture the fish. It can be practiced both in the inland waters as well as the marine waters. Now, mostly it is practiced in the large water bodies like the seas, the big lakes and the reservoirs. And in one capture operation, there may be a fish harvest of nearly 3 to 4 tons of fishes. Whereas in case of culture fisheries, basically we deal with rearing of fish from a very small size, from the young one stage to a marketable stage. Now the young stage is also known as the spawn or the fry or finger size. If it is a finger size, then it is known as a fingerling. Now these are reared for few days, few months, and maybe up to around 6 months, or to up to the stage when it reaches a marketable size, and generally it is done under controlled conditions. Now this type of fisheries is termed as the culture fisheries. Now since it is a culture fishery, we have a good control over it. The production in culture fisheries is often very high. It may be around 2 tons, it may be around 3 tons, or in some cases it is around 10 tons per hectare per year. So this is the culture fisheries. Now we have a slide here where where you can see this is a brackish water pond of say around 1 hectare with culture fisheries, where you can see the aerators which can increase the oxygenation in the pond and which ultimately yields in a very high production. This is another slide where we can see how the pearl culture operation is being carried out in the sea using bamboo rafts. So this is one another example of culture operation. Now let us know something about the fisheries resources which are available with us. First of all, the marine fisheries resources. When I say marine, I mean the sea. What are the various resources which are available with us for fish culture or fish capture? Now we know that India is a large country. We have a continental shelf area, that is the area of the sea from the sea coast up to 200 meters depth, which is around 0.53 million square kilometers. We have an exclusive economic zone of 2.02 million square kilometers. This is the area of the sea from the sea coast up to 200 nautical miles. We have a large coastal line of 8,118 kilometers, and the sea sector gives an employment of nearly 2 crores. 2 crore people are directly or indirectly they are involved in the sea, or you can say marine fisheries. The total India's estimated potential from the sea is 3.93 million tons, of which we have already harvested, or our production is to the tune of 2.9 million tons. Now this slide shows you how a Chinese dip net is operating in the Kerala backwaters. It is almost on the seaside, and how in one operation many tons of fishes can be harvested. So this is example of captured fisheries in the sea. Now in the marine side itself, we have around 2,08,000 of traditional crafts or boats. We have a traditional motorized craft to the tune of 55,000. We have mechanized boats 1,250. Deep sea fishing vessels about 100. Fishing villages we are having 3,827, and the traditional fish landing centers to the tune of 1,914. So such a large marine fishery resources we have. Now this is another image showing the harvest from the seaside. It is known as ribbon fish. You can see tons of ribbon fish in a single fish haul. Now this was all about the marine fishery resources. We have similarly a large inland fishery resources with us. To quote some examples, we have rivers and canals length 1,95,210 kilometers. We have major and minor reservoirs to the tune of 2.9 million hectares. We have got lot many ponds and tanks. We have got floodplain lakes. We have derelict water bodies. And the government has established the fish farmers development agencies who are looking after the extension support to the fish farmers. Right now we have 429 such FFDAs working, and with the help of these FFDAs, nearly 0.7 million hectares of inland water or fresh water has been converted into fish ponds. As per a rough estimate, nearly 1.2 million fish farmers are practicing active fish farming in our country. One part of the inland fisheries is the brackish water fisheries. Now we have around 1.4 million hectares of brackish water. As I explained earlier, brackish water is an area where the river meets the sea. The ecosystem is altogether different. The water is neither freshwater nor saline, but a mixture of both. Here we have got altogether different types of fish and aquatic species. The estimated area is 1.4 million hectares, but unfortunately we have not utilized most of the area. Only 14% of the total brackish water area has been so far utilized. And the main species which is being cultured here is the prawns or the shrimps. Now we are getting a production ranging from 300 to 1000 kgs per hectare per season of prawns. We have got nearly 200 shrimp hatcheries. We have got 33 feed mills. Feed is a very specialized thing when we talk of shrimps. And we have got 33 feed mills with an installed capacity of 1,50,000 tons per annum. And this is a very good slide of the prawns which have been harvested from a brackish water pond. They are very fresh and the heads have been removed and they are ready for sale. So these are the some of the statistics which I have told you is the existing fishery resources of our country. And just to add something more, that nearly 65 commercially important fisheries or fish species are available in the sea, and the annual per capita availability of fish in our country is 5 kgs. This is very less. If we compare it with countries like Japan, which is nearly 75, China it is around 80 kgs of fishes are available per person per year. So there is a vast gap which can be increased, gap can be covered. When we talk of the freshwater fisheries, the most important activity we think about is the composite fish culture. Now, composite fish culture, what are the basic aspects of composite fish culture? Basically, it can be adopted in any of the village ponds which are existing, any pond which has been created, that is the new pond, or in the abundant area, the brick kilns. In Punjab, you can see Punjab and Haryana, you will find the abundant brick kilns have been covered under composite fish culture. Now, it is the most advanced and popular fish culture technique in the country, and the basic aim is to obtain the maximum fish production from a pond or a tank utilizing the fish food organisms in all the natural niches supplemented by artificial feeding. What it means that we are using more than 3 or 4 fish species which are present all over the ponds at all the levels. There is no competition within the fishes for food, for space, or for anything else, and this leads to a very high fish production. Now, this technique is known as the composite fish culture. Now, here mostly 3 species, 4 species, 5 species, or sometimes 6 species combination is used. In this slide, you can see the composite fish culture, what can be the various combinations. We have basically 2 different groups of fishes. One is the Indian major carps, comprising of katla, rohu, and mrigal. And the second group is the exotic carps, the carps which have been imported from outside, known as the silver carp, the grass carp, and the common carp. Now, these 6 species, when they are mixed together in a definite ratio, in a ratio which is required, they yield a very good harvest of around 3 to 3.5 tons. Their feeding habits is entirely different. Their place of stay is entirely different. For example, katla we will always find the katla on the surface of the pond. Rohu will be in the column, and the common carp and mrigal will always be in the bottom. When they have different status, naturally they will not compete for food or for space. This is a slide showing some of the fishes which are used for composite fish culture. Now, the composite fish culture technique, basically it starts with proper selection of pond. The ponds have to be selected properly, and as I told earlier, any type of pond can be used, but the most important thing is that the water depth should be at least 6 feet, and especially in case of the summer season, it should not be less than 4 feet. Now, suppose the pond is existing and it is not very deep, so it has to be desilted because we require that desired depth in the pond. The shallow ponds are to be deepened, and if suppose there is a plain area, it has to be excavated. Excavated to a depth of around 5 to 6 feet, so that ideally we have a water column of around 6 feet. Wherever possible, the embankments are to be made, and if at all they are existing, they are being repaired and strengthened so that the water doesn't overflow or the water doesn't come out of the pond. There has to be ideally one inlet and one outlet. Now, the second step is the pond management. Once the pond is constructed, we have various pre-stocking operations. If the pond is existing, you may have weeds, you may have unwanted fishes in it. They have to be eradicated, they have to be removed. So there is a technique for removing the existing fishes. You have to use 2500 kgs of mahua oil cake per hectare. With this dose, the existing unwanted predatory fishes automatically they will die and they can be removed manually. After that, the pond is to be filled with water. It is to be limed. See, liming is done at the rate of 200 to 2000 kgs per hectare. That depends upon the pH of the soil. If the pH is more, the liming is to be done less. If pH is more acidic, more lime is to be added. Basically, the lime increases the pH It acts as a buffer, and it also increases the resistance of the soil against the parasites. After 3 days of liming, the pond is to be fertilized. Now, what is fertilization of pond? Fertilization is adding some sort of organic and inorganic manuring. Organic manuring can be the cow dung or the chicken waste, and inorganic is NPK. They are added in definite quantities, and after say 15 days, you will find that very small plankton or very small organisms, they start growing in the pond. They are known as the phytoplankton and the zooplankton. Both these plankton, they are very important for the very small fishes which we are going to introduce in the ponds. They act as food for the pond. And when the pond is ready, the seed is to be introduced. You may ask us, what should be the what should be the combination of the fish species? As I told you, there can be 4, 5 or 6 species of fishes put together in a pond. Now let us imagine if we have 6 species, katla, rohu, silver carp, grass carp, common carp and mrigal. The top level, usually the top level should have 30% of fishes, the bottom level should have 35%, and the middle level also 35%. So in the slide you can see the species composition ratio, where we have shown that how much katla, how much rohu, how much mrigal, all these species should be there. So this can be altered according to the pond capacity. Now after we stock, our next job is to feed the fishes, because the fish also require feed. Feeding is to be done on daily basis, and what is to be fed? Oil cake and rice bran in equal quantities has to be fed daily and should be placed on a bamboo tray, and the bamboo tray has to be lowered into the pond bottom. We can know about the diet of the fishes, because if the fishes are hungry, they will finish off the entire food within no time. So this is a trial and error method by which you know how much feed is required. But from our experience we can tell the fish mostly in 1 hectare will require nearly 1500 to 2700 kgs of feed in a year. Now this is when we are talking around 5000 fingerlings. 5000 finger sized fishes will require nearly 1500 to 2700 kgs of fishes in a year. Every month the pond is to be again manured with the help of cow dung at the rate of 1000 kgs per month, ammonium phosphate at 100 kgs per month, and 50 kgs of single superphosphate. It means that the pond is getting the entire dose of organic manure and inorganic manure. Now we'll come to the harvesting part. Harvesting is done generally at the end of first year. Now it depends upon the market. If the market is of very small fishes, like in Bihar, you can know Bihar or Eastern UP, people they love to eat smaller size fishes. So in that case, the harvesting is done at the end of third year or fourth year. After third month and fourth month, because by the time the fish may reach around 400 grams, and that is the size, that is the buying capacity of those people. Whereas if you go to the West Bengal and Andhra Pradesh, you will find that the fishes are grown for a longer size, for a longer period. So there the fish is harvested after a year. Now we know that the fish can grow to a size of 750 to 1200 grams in a year. And with the composite fish culture technique, which we have already described to you, the pond will yield around 3 to 5 tons of fishes per hectare. So this is a very good production And I can assure you, in comparison to many other agriculture and allied activities, fish cultivation through composite fish culture is one of the best activities. This is a slide of the fish harvest which have been harvested, and most of them are, you can see the carps, and this is harvesting in a very big pond. If you got a very big pond, then you require boats and nets also. The fish will be harvested with the help of boat and net. So this is an image of the same. Now, apart from fish, an important organism is the prawn. You must have heard about the prawns. Many people are confused about prawn and shrimps. When I talk of prawn, the word prawn means the shrimps or prawns which are found in the freshwater bodies, like the Godavari or the Ganga river system. Wherever river system meets the sea, the freshwater prawn, you will find there the freshwater prawns. These are not the prawn. But the shrimps, on the other hand, are those prawns which are found in the sea, like the tiger prawn and the other types of prawns. Now here I am talking about the freshwater prawns. Now prawns are basically the crustaceans, the group of crustaceans that are liked or relished for their taste, flavor and nutritional properties all over the world. Now, they have got a very high export potential, and the giant freshwater prawn, which is scientifically known as Macrobrachium rosenbergii, or the scampi, it enjoys immense potential and culture in the country. Now, some technical parameters of the prawn. Now, the giant freshwater prawn, it is suitable in tropical and subtropical climates. It is a very hardy species and can adapt in various conditions of fresh water and brackish water. It accepts the natural feed, but it enjoys the pelletized feed, the artificial feed. And basically it is an omnivorous in feeding habits. Omnivorous means whatever is available, that it will eat. As far as seed is concerned, the seed is to be collected from the hatcheries. As I told you, there are nearly 33 hatcheries where the prawn seeds are being produced. Now the most important part is the site selection. Site selection means the selection of the area where the prawn farming can be done. Now the most important aspects that are considered for the site selection are the topography of the area, the soil type, the availability of water, it should be enough and it should be quality, and the area should be free from pollution and flooding. The ideal soil for the prawn farming is clay silt mixture or sandy loam, which comprises of 60% sand and 40% silt. It should have a good water retention capacity. Now, as I told that water should be abundant also, it should be of good quality also. It should be free from all types of pollution, and the pH of the water should be between 7 and 8.5. The ideal temperature is 27 degrees to 31 degrees Celsius, and the dissolved oxygen content should be very high. You must be knowing that prawn is a very delicate organism. It requires more oxygen. It requires very less pollution. And when you can provide both these type of environment, the growth of the prawn is very good. It is said that the rectangular ponds are always ideal for prawn farming because the harvesting becomes very easy. The convenient width will be 30 to 50 meters. However, the length depends on the site. If the site is available, it can be more or it can be less. But ideally, 0.5 to 1.5 hectare of prawn farm is the best. The average depth is 0.75 meter, and dike and pond slope, it should be at the ratio of 2:1. It is also said that the freeboard area should be at least 60 centimeter of the highest water level in the pond. Designing of pond for prawn is highly technical, and is very important. Tube well water, if available, is the best considered for exchange, and water exchange is a must on a weekly or fortnightly basis. Once it has been decided that we are doing the prawn culture, the important aspect here again is liming part. The liming of pond assumes great importance in the prawn farming in case of freshwater fisheries. Now, application of fertilizers is restricted here because mostly we are using artificial and pelletized feed. So, more important part is liming than organic fertilizers. Now, the next aspect is how many prawn seeds we should stock. There is a range. It can be from 4,000 to 50,000 number of post larvae. Here the seed is known as the post larvae. 4,000 to 50,000 depending upon the type and intensity of the management practices. Suppose there is a farmer who is using very extensive technology, who is not adding lot of artificial feed, who is not taking much care of the prawns, then he can go in for a 4,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 post larvae per hectare. Whereas, if there is a farmer who is doing high-tech prawn farming with lot many aerators, with lot of feeding, a lot of management practices, then he can go in up to 50,000. The risk is more, but the profit is also more. So that depends. Now here we have got two types of culture techniques. One is the polyculture, second is the monoculture. Monoculture means only prawns and nothing else. There is a single species of prawns in the entire pond. So if it is monoculture, then we add 2,500 to 20,000 post larvae per hectare. But suppose the prawns are combined with fishes, it is known as polyculture. Then we have some amount of fishes also. Around 5,000 numbers of fishes are also added, and some amount of prawns will be added to the same pond, and they will be reared simultaneously. So the farmer can have the advantage of having both fishes as well as prawns after the harvest. Now, in order to get the desired production, feeding, aeration, exchange of water, periodic monitoring, everything has to be monitored and continued. Now, Macrobrachium rosenbergi, the scampi, the prawn, the organism about which we are talking about, has a omnivorous feeding habits, and it can use lot of variety of feed. They can accept the rice bran and oil cake. They can accept highly pelletized food with lot of proteins, and the rate of feeding is also dependent on the stage of the growth of the prawn, the quality of water, and the stocking density. Generally, the feeding rate is 5% of the total weight of the prawns. Duration of the culture, it can be 6 to 12 months. It depends on the type of culture we are using. If it is polyculture, it can be large. It can extend up to 8 to 12 months. If it is monoculture, it can be around 6 months. So this much period is enough. And the average growth of prawns which we expect ranges from 50 grams to 200 grams. Let me tell you friends that 200 grams prawn, single size prawn, it fetches a very good price in the international market. And the survival rate of prawn farming, if it is done on the best of scientific techniques, best of package of practices, it can be around 70%. But under extensive farming, it can be even 40%. But if you take good care of the prawns, it can be even 70 to 75%. Now, marketing aspects. As I told you, there is a very good demand for freshwater prawns in India, in all the states, and also in the international uh, market. And there is no problem in marketing the fish. The current rate of freshwater prawns of big size is around 400 to 500 rupees per kg. And if we take the financial viability of this type of culture, suppose if there is a farm area of 1 hectare and culture period is 6 to 8 months, stocking density is around 30,000 per hectare, survival is 60%, the feed conversion ratio will be 2.5 to 1. If we feed them 2.5 times 2.5 kgs, we get 1 kg of flesh, and the expected production is 1260 kgs per crop. So this is considered by all means to be a very good crop. Now the sale price of prawn, as I told you, it can exceed, it can be around 300 rupees or 400 rupees per kg. This slide, from this slide you can know, this is a prawn harvest which has been made from a brackish water fish pond. These are all giant water prawns, and this is a very good harvest. Now, apart from the prawn farming, the fish farming, we should also know about what are the marine capture fisheries prospects in our country, about fish processing and the various potentials and problems. Now, let me tell you that of the total catch which we are producing from the sea, nearly 81% of the catch is consumed raw, and 6% it goes for drying and curing. Only 5% of the total fish catch from the sea is frozen. Nearly 4.7% it goes as fish meal. Fish meal, you must be knowing, fish meal is being used to make poultry food. And very few, it goes for the miscellaneous works. Now the fishing industry is a well developed industry in the country, and there are nearly 625 registered exporters which are exporting the fish to various countries. And the post harvest means after the harvesting, whatever processes we have, nearly there are 215 ice plants, 481 shrimp peeling plants, 371 freezing plants, 495 cold storages, and 7 canning plants. We have got 16 fish meal plants also. Now 11 surimi plants. Surimi is a fish product which is relished and is being exported. Now nearly there are 20 major clusters in the 9 coastal states where the seafood processing industry is taken up in a very high, in a very intensive mode. Now, the economic role of fishing industry, if we talk about, the fishery plays a very important role in the national economy, because, as I told earlier, more than 2 crore people are directly or indirectly involved in the sector, and there are nearly 11,800 primary cooperative societies which are dedicated to this sector. But still, the big problem is that our fish per capita availability is only 5 kgs because our population is large. Apart from the fish processing aspects, the fishery management aspects are equally important. We know that the marine fish sector has a total production potential of 3.9 million metric tons, of which 2.9 million metric tons have already been harvested. Most of our fishing fleets, the traditional crafts, the boats are concentrated in the inshore waters. Inshore waters means up to 2 to 3 or 4 kilometers. So the maximum effort is in the inshore waters. Most of our offshore waters, we don't have much of effort. So because of this reason, the inshore and the pelagic resources, pelagic means on the top, they are being overexploited. Whereas we are not able to exploit the offshore and high seas fisheries which belong to our own country. So this has to be taken care, and the government has also taken due care of it, but still there is a need to do more. And as far as other objectives are concerned for enhancing, our basic aim should be to increase the fish production or fish availability per capita to 11 kgs per hectare per year, because this is the World Health Organization recommendation that any person in the country should have the animal protein in the form of fish to an extent of 11 kgs per person per year. Till now, we have talked about freshwater composite fish culture. We have talked about freshwater prawn farming, its technique, scientific package of practice, and all that. We have talked about the harvesting aspects, the production aspects, the marketing aspects. Now, there is another topic known as the shrimp farming. We are talking now, strictly we are talking about the sea prawns which can be cultured in the coastal waters or the brackish water. These are known as shrimp farming. Now, shrimp farming, once upon a time, it was a very lucrative business. It was doing well. But although it started in a big way in 91 to 94, especially in the coastal districts of Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, banks and NABARD, they took a lead in this, and many crores of rupees were disbursed to the farmers. But due to the problems of viral diseases and all other problems, there was a decline in the shrimp production, especially in the brackish water areas. Then there was litigation in the Supreme Court, and there was the social and environmental problems were there, and this sector, suffered a huge setback. And most of the corporate farms, all so many top level corporates, they were in the shrimp farming in Andhra Pradesh, in Tamil Nadu, in all other coastal states. And the Supreme Court also, it passed on a legislation that all big farms should be closed down. Now the position is that the smaller units, they are continuing to do prawn farming, the shrimp farming, adopting an extensive prawn farming technique. Extensive means not intensive. Less food, less shrimps in a large area is extensive fish farming. And there is an aquaculture authority of India which have been established as per the directions of Supreme Court. They are issuing the licenses and they are doing the overall supervision. Now this is being done on a smaller scale, but it is now picking up slowly. Now there is a lot of scope for brackish water shrimp farming. As I mentioned earlier in my lecture, that we have a total area of around 11.9 lakh hectare as coastal brackish water area, of which only 2.53 lakh have been used for shrimp farming. So there is a vast scope for us to continue the shrimp farming in a big way, but not on an intensive scale, because we do not want the same problem to crop in which had come earlier. We do not want diseases. We want disease-free prawns, disease-free shrimps. West Bengal and Gujarat. These are the states having the largest area under the brackish water shrimp farming. But Andhra Pradesh and Kerala and also West Bengal, these are the states who have taken a lead in shrimp farming. Now, here also the technical requirements are very, very stringent. Area should be accessible by road. It should not be a mangrove area with tree stumps. Site should have good inlet and outlet facilities, and it should be pollution free water which should be available for the brackish water pond, both fresh water as well as brackish water, and strict limnological aspects. When I say limnological means lot of oxygen, good salinity, temperature should be ideal, pH should be 6.8 to 8.7. Then nitrate, nitrogen, ammonia, BOD, COD, transparency, carbon dioxide, all these parameters have to be strictly adhered to. Only then this type of aquaculture, this type of shrimp farming can be very successful. And not all farmers can venture into this type of shrimp farming because it's a slightly risky venture. So this has to be taken care of, and the total production here can also be to the tune of 1000 to 1500 kgs per season per crop. This can be considered as a very good production. Now, shrimp diet are basically this diet. They have to be pelletized diets. We have to feed them pellets, which are protein-rich pellets. The cost of feeding may be very high. So, cost of production may be very high. So, this aspect should also be taken care of. And generally, a feed conversion ratio of 1 is to 1.5 to 1.8 is being assumed. Feeding is done by automatic feed dispensers or by broadcasting all over the pond. Harvesting is done by draining out the pond entirely with the help of a bag net or by hand picking. The prawns are generally grown for a period of 3 to 4 months, and they grow up to 20 to 30 grams each, and it's a financially viable proposition. Marketing, as I said, marketing is also no problem because it has got very good market nationally, internationally, and also even at a smaller places and towns. So this is in a nutshell the types of fish farming and the capture fisheries technique. Now, not only raw fish, but fish can be consumed in other forms also. Some of the important fishery products, as I told you, is raw fish. Around 80 to 81% of the entire fish is eaten raw. Then fish is consumed in dried form also. There are very good products like fish soups. Some of my friends must be aware that the shark fins, rays, they are ideally used for fish soups. Fish surumi is a very good product. Icing glass. Icing glass is a product obtained from the air bladder of some of the fishes, which is used for purification of wine. Then we have got fish meal. Whatever fish which is not used is being used as a fish meal, which is used as a poultry feed. Fish manure is being used. Fin rays are used. Fish pickles are being made. Fish is being canned. Then battered and breaded products are also being used. Fish sauces are being used. And some of you must be aware that one of the, not exactly fishes, one of the mollusk is used for pearl production. Pearl is very famous, especially in ladies. So these are the important fishy products. Now we have got few slides of pearls, the dried fishes, and fried fish products that you can see. Lastly, I would say that some of the facts, some of the important facts and issues which are pertaining to this sector. I can safely say that the Indian fisheries is doing excellently well and is growing at a very fast rate in comparison to agriculture or many of the other allied activities in the country. And the fact is that India is the second largest producer of fish in the world. Now, secondly, India has excellently done in the aquaculture techniques, and the rate of growth of aquaculture is much faster than aquaculture. You capture the fish, but you are not getting a good production. You culture the fish in ponds, you can get as much as you want. Thirdly, there is a need to adopt integrated fish farming techniques. Now, what is integrated fish farming techniques? Fish should not be cultured alone. Fish should be combined with other agriculture activities like paddy, like duckery, like piggery, like cattle, like poultry. Fish come duck, come cattle. Waste of one becomes the food of the other. So this way you can economically reduce the cost of fish farming. And you have to adopt intensive fish farming techniques. The present day technique is extensive to semi-intensive, where we are producing nearly 2.5 tons, 2.5 tons of fish a hectare. But just imagine how much China is doing. China is producing 6 tons or 7 tons or 8 tons. So we can also reach that. So this can be done by intensive fish farming techniques by adding more number of seeds, more feed, more aeration and better scientific techniques. In the marine sector, there is need to exploit and explore the offshore areas. A lot has been done in the inshore areas. Let us move to offshore areas by using deep sea fishing vessels and better techniques. In the brackish water fishery sector, only 25% of the total area has been utilized. There is a need to utilize more brackish water. So this will not only lead to higher production but also give us the priced prawns and the better foreign exchange for us. And lastly, I would say that there is a need to increase the per capita fish availability. From the present day 5 kgs, let us increase it to 11 kgs, what the World Health Organization wants. So this is in a nutshell about this fisheries techniques and facts about the aquaculture, aquaculture and the things. Lastly, friends, I would like to sum up what I have said. We discussed about the basic fisheries techniques. What is fisheries? How fisheries can be defined? What is culture fisheries? What is captured fisheries? What is inland fisheries? What is brackish water fisheries? And what is the marine fisheries? All this type of fisheries are different and distinct. After that, we discussed about the composite fish culture technique. How the composite fish culture technique can ideally be used for getting a very good production from the ponds. Maybe a village pond or a newly excavated pond or any other low-lying area. We talked about the marine and inland fishery resources available in the country. We are having lot many marine fishery resources, lot many inland fishery resources. We have been able to utilize some, but there is a huge gap. We talked about the freshwater prawn culture, the prawn culture technique, how harvesting can be done, how manuring can be done, and how we can produce nearly 1200 to 1500 kgs of prawns in a span of around 6 months, and we can earn a lot. Then we also discussed about the brackish water shrimp farming, the problems, how Aquaculture Authority of India has come in, how problems were there earlier when a lot of pollutions were there, and how to tackle it. We discussed about the fish processing technology. We discussed about the traditional crafts, how many boats, nets, processing facilities we have, and how best we can use it. So we also discussed about the various fishery products and byproducts available. So this is all for today. Thank you very much.